Good morning to everybody present this morning on this platform. You are more than welcome this morning. It is 9 o'clock. As usual, we start on time in this committee. I would ask us, before I continue, that we have a moment for silent prayer or meditation. Thank you. Apologies. I received an apology from Honorable Ramahila. He's in hospital. He's having an eye operation today. I called him last night to wish him well on behalf of the committee. I've got an apology from the minister that needs to leave us at 11:30 to attend to other business. I think it's a cabinet meeting. Minister, you're more than welcome to leave then. And I'm not sure, Nosipo, any other apologies
Good
from
morning,
your side?
Chairperson. Good morning, Chairperson. There's no other apology. Thank you.
Honorable Reddy, do you have an apology?
Yeah. No, Honorable Chair, just Matutu, he informed me he was unwell. I'm not sure if he's on the platform. I'm just trying to check if he is. If he's not, please record his apology. He's unwell. Thank you.
I've got it. We had a doctor's letter for last weekend. So he is sick. So if he's not on, let's just record him as also being sick. That's
Chairperson,
in order, Honorable Reddy. Yes,
Chairperson, Mr. Matutu is on the platform.
he's on the platform. Thank you very much. Then he's well, and we hope he's well. Thank you very much. We only have one item on the agenda today, and that is briefing by the Department on Intervention. After that, after our questions, I would request that the members stay behind to elect an acting chairperson for the Limpopo leg of the public participation. Minister, I'm handing over to you.
Honorable Chair, good morning to you. Thank you very much, Chair. Let me greet all the honorable members of this portfolio committee. Let me greet the DMs. Both DMs are on the platform, DM Ashlobo and DM Dr. Bloom, the DG and the entire senior management. Honorable Chair, we have all board chairs as well as the CEs as per the agenda item. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, the department thank this opportunity to brief you as a committee on intervention in terms of Section 63 of the Water Services Act, as stated clearly on the agenda. The Department of Water and Sanitation supports and regulates local municipalities, which hold constitutional duty to supply water. When a local system fails, DWS intervene through financial grants, performance audits, Section 63, and ministerial intervention, as well as partnership with water boards to restore basic services. We have participated in 3 Section 63, which is in Mfuleni by Rand Water, in uMkhanyakude District Municipality by uThukela, as well as at uThukela District Municipality by uThukela. But also we have 6 ministerial intervention in Hammanskraal, in Makana, in Maluti-A-Phofung, in Giyani, in Northwest through Operation Bulela Metsi, through Makhalis, as well as Lekwa through Emalahleni and Nkangala District Municipality. Honorable Chair, this Section 63 empowers the Minister of Water to intervene where a water service authority persistently fails to perform. As you are aware, Chair, the objectives of these interventions is to restore critical water and sanitation services, protect public health, and ensure compliance with national norms and standards. That is done within the allocated budget. There is no extra budget when when NCOP passes intervention, but we use the budget that we have. We are expected to shift some of the priorities in order to respond to these demands. Honorable Chair and honorable members, ours is to ensure that we intervene to stabilize the services, to restore infrastructure, and to build municipal capacity to resume sustainable service delivery. The department will brief the committee in accordance to what the agenda is all about. It's based on Mfuleni local municipality, which is also known as the Vaal River System intervention, the uMkhanyakude district, the Matjhabeng local municipality, the Maluti-A-Phofung and uThukela district municipality, restoration of water and wastewater infrastructure in the Lekwa municipality, as well as the construction of the Clip Drift package plant, which was handed over on the 18th of July 2026 by the president. We are also making it a point that we rehabilitate and refurbish critical water, wastewater infrastructure, improve functionality of treatment works and pump stations, improve compliance and drinking water quality requirements. And we use our water boards as implementing agencies, because when we do that intervention, we need to finish on time. We have since seen the delays, hence at times we intervene and change Schedule 5B of a grant to Schedule 6B so that we can easily and quickly intervene. Honorable Chair, because of the massive information that we're supposed to share through these 4 water boards, allow me, Chair, to thank you very much, because you still have a long day to go based on these reports that were sent to your portfolio committee. I thank you very much for the opportunity, Honorable Chair and honorable members. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Also welcome to both the Deputy Ministers, and you're also welcome to participate in this meeting. DG, is half an hour sufficient enough for you to make the presentation?
Yes, Chairperson, and with your permission, the presentation will be made by our acting DDG for Water Services, Dietmar Niebuhr. The DDG is at the International Water Week in Stockholm, and he has meetings there, so he couldn't join us. With your permission, Chairperson, I'll hand over to Dietmar to make the presentation. Dietmar?
Thank you very much. May I continue?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chair, to all honourable members and ministers and deputy ministers on the platform. I'll just, the purpose, I think I can skip through the purpose of the presentation. I think it's clear. In terms of the executive summary, there are a number of interventions, and Minister already provided the overview, so I won't go through this slide in detail. There are only the 2 active interventions, which are Section 63 interventions in uMkhanyakude and uThukela. But uThukela is the one that has recently started, while in Mfuleni, the Section 63 component of the intervention has recently concluded. But we will hear more details on all of the ones listed below.
May I, before you continue, my apology, before you continue, can you maybe just put on your camera so members can just see who is speaking? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just before we start off, I just wanted to, in the introduction, I think it's important that we also just explain how the interventions are funded and how where the funding comes from. So the department is responsible for administrating the funding from National Treasury for, according to DORA, for the 2 grants, the Visig and the Arbeck grant. And that's the only grants that we get from National Treasury to fund all of these interventions. These grants are administered firstly through through 5B, which is the direct transfer to municipalities, a component of them. And then the others that have been converted to 6B are grants that are transferred indirectly. So they are transferred through an implementing agent. So it's only with these grants under 6B that the department has available to fund these interventions directly to its implementing agents. For any grants under the direct transfers, we need to negotiate with the municipalities, and which is quite a complicated or extensive process. So it's important to understand that to implement all of these grants, we are working with the same grants that are utilized for all municipalities, which are intended for infrastructure development and backlogs. And we need to direct a component of these grants to the interventions. But needless to say that these grants are being allocated to municipalities to perform, to assist them with these, with the infrastructure backlogs as well as with the interventions. And all of these interventions that we are implementing are aimed at providing support to municipalities, specifically where previous interventions have not yielded results, or where previous support through the funding has not really yielded results, and where the municipalities continue to perform poorly in terms of the drop results and other scoring. So our approach in terms of implementing these interventions up to this point has been to appoint an implementing agent to implement infrastructure projects in the municipality, and to support that municipality in that way. This has been done in some cases through partial utilization of the condition section 63 in the Water Services Act, but we've never gone as far as taking full responsibility or assuming full responsibility for those services, as indicated in as the Act may allow. All of our interventions have mainly focused on the infrastructure support, and in exceptional circumstances, we've also provided operation and maintenance, but this required special permission from Treasury to allocate a portion of this funding to operation and maintenance. And I think that's also why we needed to note that it is infrastructure funding that is actually allocated by National Treasury towards infrastructure programs, and therefore National Treasury is very strict in terms of allowing any of that funding to be used for operations. So if we come in with an intervention, and there have been 2 interventions where we were able to have a little bit of leniency in that regard to get permission from the National Treasury to utilize those grants. It must be noted that this then takes away from the purpose of the grants, which is for the infrastructure, and therefore it is difficult to get that permission. So in general, the interventions are very much constrained in terms of the funding, since there's no specific grant allocated to these interventions. It utilizes from the same pot. So we need to balance this pot of money for all of the support that we provide to water service authorities, whether it's our recent program on unserved communities, whether it is accelerating delayed projects, or these interventions. So I think we just wanted to stress that. Going into the challenges faced with Section 63 implementation, well, we've experienced a couple of challenges. I think there's not always cooperation from the municipalities in this regard. There's a lot of resistance, particularly when a municipality realizes that the funding will flow through the department and directly through the implementing agent, and that they will not be involved in the procurement processes. Initially, there's sometimes support when the municipalities associate the Section 63 with a large capital injection into the municipality, but then the resistance built and the cooperation then in that regard also starts to take strain since the money does not flow through the municipality. So we tend to struggle with full cooperation with a lot of municipalities, also in terms of handing over of planning documents and technical reports, which we require to continue the work. As the implementing agents come in, they are expected to immediately implement projects, but they must still follow the planning procedures and ensure that the plans are in place. That cooperation is required for that, and in a lot of cases that planning hasn't been done. So then the implementing agent first must do the proper due diligence and proper planning, and all of this results in a lot of delays. We also experience governance instabilities in the municipalities, which also result in further delays if decisions need to be made and agreements to be entered into, and then a general lack of technical capacity on municipal level, and a lack of participation from the municipality side as well. So, and another important thing to note is that when we intervene and appoint an implementing agent to take over implementation of projects in the municipality, they generally also have to take over the existing contractors who have already been appointed in the municipality, unless it's new projects that they're appointing. So in a lot of cases, we had to take over certain contractors and experience significant delays in that regard as well. And then also in a lot of interventions, we experience scope creep as the interventions start and we start to intervene, and other issues come up which need to then be addressed and rectified in order for the interventions to yield the desired results. And we realize that in a number of cases, we start an intervention and then we tend to experience scope creep in that regard as well. But overall, the interventions would benefit from additional funding, and we do experience funding constraints, as indicated earlier, due to the limited pot that we've got available to that we need to distribute amongst all water service authorities, and we can't disproportionately only focus on very few of them. And then I think the biggest concern and challenge, and I'll repeat that in the presentation as well, is the sustainability of these interventions, since we realize that once we implement these projects, we do not receive the necessary support from the municipalities to operate and maintain those projects and to take care of the assets that we've just handed over or delivered. So these assets then rapidly deteriorate again, and they're also prone to vandalism, etc., because while the intervention is still in place, and after projects have been handed over, the municipalities do not always already take care of the assets and even provide the security for the assets so that they do not get vandalized, etc. On the current notable successes, I'm just going to jump through very quickly. I think I can actually skip through these slides because we will cover all of these successes in more detail in the next slides as we go through province by province. So I'll jump straight to the provinces. And I think what we just wanted to demonstrate with these couple of slides is that even though we are experiencing challenges, there are definitely impacts being made and impacts being felt on the ground. A significant progress has been made, and those were just examples which we will cover in any case as we go through the presentation, province by province. So for Gauteng, I'll start with the Mfuleni Section 63 intervention. This was an intervention. It was initially called the Vaal River Intervention Project, where through ministerial intervention, Rand Water was appointed to support the municipality through Section 63. This intervention is currently in a transition phase because the original Section 63 intervention is now being replaced by a long-term, more sustainable special purpose vehicle where the Rand Water will be working as established a SPV, which has now been approved by National Treasury and will be a sustainable, well, is intended to be a sustainable model to maintain and operate the infrastructure, water and sanitation services infrastructure in Mfuleni going forward. Just to note that the separate presentation has been prepared on this SPV, and Rand Water is also invited to this meeting and should be and would be in a position to also present on that should further clarity on the status of the SPV be required by the portfolio committee. But needless to say, the SPV, while we're transitioning to the SPV, the support for infrastructure is still continuing through Rand Water, and they are still rehabilitating water treatment works and infrastructure. But the Section 63 component that involved the operation and maintenance support as well has ceased since we had no further permission to utilize the grant funding for this purpose, considering the SPV that's also now in place. So we've moved now over to the SPV. I think just to highlight on the slide that in Mfuleni there was significant progress has been made in terms of the sewer condition and the wastewater which was flowing in the streets and over yards. It was in a very poor dysfunctional state and required significant intervention. The infrastructure was in a dilapidated condition, and it was also not appropriately sized for the amount of people it serviced. So significant resources have been invested here to increase the capacity, to repair collapsed infrastructure, to refurbish the 4 major pump stations, and all of that has a lot of that has been completed, and the significant progress has been felt. Unfortunately, since the O&M component has ceased, we've seen some return of sewer spillages as well. But we trust that the SPV and the progress that's being made there will then result in improvements in that regard. The other intervention, which was not specifically requested by the committee, but which we also report on, is the Hammanskraal intervention. I think a notable impact has been achieved here. I won't go through all the background of this project, but we do know that the water situation was in a dire state and resulted in really significant health risks to the people of Hammanskraal. And here, through Ministerial Directive, Magalies Water has implemented a package plant. It's a first of its kind package plant, which 50 megaliters per day is a huge amount that has been made available in actually record time, because previously this was not seen as a foreseeable as an implementable project, considering for conventional treatment plants how long this would take to implement. So by implementing this state-of-the-art package plant, which has now won multiple awards as well, they've been able to now supply the 50 megaliters to Hammanskraal. So a lot of residents in Hammanskraal are benefiting from the 50 megaliters. However, it must be noted that this is still not enough to supply all of the households in Hammanskraal. It's still very dependent on the Rooiwal that needs to be refurbished in order for the downstream Themba water treatment plant to also become operational again, so that all of the residents can be served. But a huge impact has been made through this intervention, where the department has invested over 759 million, about 759 million on this intervention. So while this project is now providing the full capacity of the package plant, there's still work that is being done there before the project can be closed off completely. I'll just skip through this slide because I think I've covered most of it. And then on the current status, the project is still over 90% complete, but it is already supplying the 50 megaliters, and is planned for completion by October, with over 47,000 households benefiting. In KwaZulu-Natal, I'll just run through the uMkhanyakude Section 63 intervention. This intervention was initiated in 2023 through Ministerial Directive. Umngeni uThukela Water was appointed to implement over 31 projects in the 4 local municipalities in uMkhanyakude, valued at about 1.2 billion. We currently stand at around 668 million that has been spent, and progress is about 63%, with 12 projects practically complete and 9 commissioned, and the remainder under construction. So just to note on this project, significant progress has been made in terms of implementing the projects, but in terms of realizing full benefit of the projects, there's still a large dependency on connections of the schemes to electricity supply. So a lot of these projects are not realizing the full impact yet. But we are in discussions with Eskom to also elevate the matter, so that these projects are connected, so that the projects can, so that we can realize the full benefit of the schemes that have been implemented. Just because a lot of these projects in these interventions in uMkhanyakude are decentralized water schemes that rely on groundwater supplies, which require Eskom as well to generate those boreholes and pumps. So, but we've experienced a couple of challenges also in terms of contractor performance. But yeah, I think the main challenge is the electricity connections. I think this slide is largely a repeat of what I've already talked to. So sorry, I think just, yes, I think I've covered uMkhanyakude. In uThukela, we've initiated the Section 63 after a ministerial directive was issued in 2024. The Section 63 commenced in July 2025 after there was extensive negotiations between the municipality and DWS and COCTA, as well as the implementing agent to agree on an implementing agreement. A lot of the groundwork has been done, due diligence has been done, which is very important that we ensure proper implementation and sequencing of projects so that we ensure that we do not experience some of the challenges that we've experienced on other projects. So a lot of the focus was a lot on the planning and the groundwork being done up to this point, but we haven't reached full expenditure. I think one of the reasons as well is that this municipality was still under direct funding, and we needed to convert the funding to indirect funding. And during this process, we also had to take over the projects from the municipality and required cooperation from the municipality in that regard, due to the funding still being with them, which also significantly delayed the project. But progress has been made, and there is now further engagement and efforts from the department with the municipality and the implementing agent to accelerate and ensure full implementation. In the Eastern Cape, I'll just quickly run through Makana. This one was also not on the list of projects that we had to report on, but it is included because it is an intervention through a ministerial intervention where Amatola Water was appointed or directed to support the municipality with a couple of projects to address the water services in Makana. I don't think I'll go through detail of all of these projects, but it's important to note, even though progress has been made and projects have been implemented, we experienced rapid deterioration as soon as the implementing agent left site. And then there's an expectation that the implementing agent will also continue to support with repairing this infrastructure. So the sustainability of this intervention was really a challenge. But just to sum it up, it basically just involved in refurbishment and repair work of key pump station and water treatment work at the water treatment works. Yeah, I think most of this is, I don't need to add much more on that. I think I've covered. I'm not going to go into a detailed background as to where the problems emanated from. I think that can be regarded as read. So although the intervention component has been completed, it is 100% completed. As I've indicated now that we've realized that there's already pump sets that need further attention due to how they've been operated and resulting in them deteriorating rapidly again, and due to lack of the right type of operation as well as maintenance. Currently, the department is also funding other projects in Makana, the James Kleinans upgrade, as well as water conservation and demand management, where Amatola is also assisting in that province. Also in Eastern Cape, on the Stakspreid intervention, there was a refurbishment of the Stakspreid water treatment works through a ministerial intervention as well for Amatola to be implemented by Amatola Water Board. This was successfully completed. The second component is still under the planning stage. This is also one of the examples where we experience scope creep, where we've identified certain scope that needs to be implemented, like the clear water pipeline, and then realizing firstly that upon unforeseen circumstances, that the encroachments on servitudes, relocation of graves, etc., resulting in significant delays, as well as additional components that are required that wasn't foreseen earlier, which results then in scope creep. So those are some of the typical complications. In terms of the progress, I think I'm not going to go much deeper, except that that upgrade has been completed, and then we can move over to the Free State interventions. In the Free State, we have two major interventions, the Maluti-A-Phofung and Matjhabeng. On Maluti-A-Phofung, there was intervention in April 2022, after significant failures have been observed, both in terms of water supply and in terms of sanitation services. The municipality, or the residents of the municipality of the three towns and over 60 villages in that municipality were not receiving. A lot of them were not receiving the water of the right quality, as well as consistent water supply. There are even communities in the Lekwa region that haven't received water for over 14 months in that area. So this intervention was initiated with a main focus on refurbishing and upgrading the water treatment plants and works into pipelines and leak, addressing high non-revenue water and leakage, and refurbishment and upgrading of wastewater treatment works. While most of the sorry, I think I've covered this slide already, so I'll just move to the next slide. So in terms of the impact achieved, the most of the impact on Maluti-A-Phofung for the first initial phases focused more on the water supply. So 80% of Patuta Ditshaba has now experienced improved water supply and is getting clean water. And in general, in the municipality, the quality and reliability of water supply has much improved. As initially indicated, unfortunately, we do not have enough funding to run all of the project packages at the same time. So some of the sanitation projects are now under construction and implementation, but we haven't received full benefit of those projects yet. But we expect to see the benefits in terms of reduction in sewer spillages and spillages into the rivers as well. But a lot of work is now focusing on the sewer and sanitation works after the water supply has now been restored to a lot of areas. Okay, sorry, this is a bit of a repeat. The current status of Matjhabeng is that the whole estimate is around 2.4 billion, and we've already spent around 880 million. But we've achieved over 44% progress thus far, so the progress is in line with the amounts spent. So while these projects that are listed are completed mostly, of the remaining 22 work packages, there are still 10 which are progressing well but are under construction, close to completion. 7 are under planning, and 5 work packages are still under procurement stage. I think I've covered most on this slide, and just to indicate that the program is expected to run up to March 2031. I think the biggest, the next four. Okay, I think the biggest requirement for this and the challenge, and I'll sum up all of the challenges for Matjhabeng and Maluti-A-Phofung at the end of the Free State section, but is the need for funding for these projects to fully implement the scale of intervention that's required. Matjhabeng, similar to Maluti-A-Phofung, except Matjhabeng focused on the sewer and sanitation failures There were sewer spillages and widespread wastewater treatment failures across the municipality. The municipality was dysfunctional in a dire strait, the infrastructure. So the Vaal Central was also appointed in July 2022 through ministerial intervention to implement 79 work packages that have been identified, which would then benefit over the entire local municipality, over 400,000 people across all the areas. I think I won't go into too much detail, but we know that in Matjhabeng, the state was the conditions were quite bad in terms of sewer. The sewer was overflowing; it was running in the streets. There was a lot of vandalism and constraints and failures, pump failures, resulting in blockages and overflowing sewer networks, as well as pollution into the rivers. There has been huge impact in addressing some of these in Matjhabeng through the interventions that have been implemented thus far, and into reducing this. I won't go into detail of every water treatment works that has been refurbished, but just to sum it up, that of the original 3.5 billion that was estimated originally, we've spent about 1.38 billion thus far, with the progress standing at 46%. Key wastewater treatment works have been refurbished, Taronia and 20 pump stations and 1 sewer network has been completed. All of these have resulted in improvements on the ground. So the intervention is scheduled for completion by 2030, but progress is also being made. We're also looking at, we're extending the intervention to 2030, but this intervention would also benefit. It's all in terms of the funding that we need to distribute across all the provinces for all the projects. If we could, we need to balance in terms of how we can address allocating sufficient funding to realize all the needs in Matjhabeng. In terms of the challenges in the Free State on both the Matjhabeng and Maluti-A-Phofung projects, I think while progress is being made on both projects, we experience the same type of underlying systematic issues that we experience across all provinces in implementation of projects. We experience contractor performance challenges, mostly driven by cash flow constraints, ultimately requiring contract determinations, delayed payments by water service authorities of the component that's administered directly to the water service authority, community and labor unrest, political instability was a big issue in the Free State in terms of the projects there, and then also electricity constraints, as I've mentioned earlier, on other projects as well. But the biggest one, I think, that we need to emphasize on Maluti-A-Phofung and Matjhabeng is the sustainability of the intervention. To ensure that once Vaal Central Water leaves the site, that the municipality is in a proper position to take over all of the operation and maintenance and taking care of the infrastructure that is on site. We've not seen that fully up to this point of the projects that have been handed over. And we anticipate that there's a huge risk of these projects reverting to the poor state because the intervention is not addressing those underlying and systematic issues that have resulted in the original poor condition of the infrastructure. I think just a key consideration is that while we are making progress with the infrastructure investment, we need to ensure that these underlying issues are addressed. And that's where the National Water Action Plan also is coming in to try to address these underlying challenges that will result in improved operation and maintenance, as well as professionalization to ensure that these assets are managed properly. In terms of the Limpopo projects, I'll go through the Giyani project. I think most of the members on the platform are familiar with the history and background of Giyani. I won't go through all of the detail. I'll start basically that in 2021, DWS took a proactive step to really coordinate and structure the intervention so that we accelerate the intervention towards completion. I'll jump to the next slide already. So what we found were the various components that weren't well coordinated and didn't run well together. For instance, the key Nandoni Nsami pipeline, which needed to provide the raw water from the Nandoni Dam. We put in effort to get that project completed. It was completed in December 2023. Then the refurbishment and upgrading of the water treatment works so that raw water from Nandoni can be treated in order to be able to supply the villages was then refurbished and completed by December 2024. But all of these are required ultimately to supply the households in the communities. And what was identified then was that the key reticulation projects weren't even initiated at that point, and they were actually supposed to run concurrently so that we do not experience ultimately the delays associated with getting that water to the communities. So there was focus placed on that reticulation, as well as the components of the bulk infrastructure that were needed in order to supply those villages that we were connecting. So it was important that all of these run concurrently, so that when we have the required supply, that we can actually deliver them to the villages. So as we are connecting more villages on the water treatment works, upgrades will be needed, and those are in the planning phase, with progress being made on the planning, with actually construction being estimated to start still this year in October 2026 to increase its capacity, and that will then allow us to connect the villages as we implement the reticulation to the remaining villages. Same with the bulk distribution, of which 99% of the pipes are in the ground, but it's about 93% complete. But if we look at the allocation, the reticulation of the villages, the 24 villages are basically all complete. There's just minor outstanding things on the 24th village, but we've are 99.5% complete on the connection of the 24 villages. And where these are not receiving water through, these villages are receiving water either through the surface water from Nandoni, but also through other decentralized solutions to ensure that there is water in the system. So as indicated earlier, we do not have enough funding to implement all of the necessary connections and village projects in one go. So phase 2, the connection of the last 31 villages has been split into 2 sub-phases, 2A and 2B. With 2A, which is the 15 villages, where the contractors are far advanced with procurement. We actually is estimating site establishment imminently, and completion of that project by December 2027, after which then phase 2B will start in 2028. I think I'm not going to go through the issues. I'll regard that as read, and then we'll move to, I think I've covered everything on the Giyani project, except on I think even on the challenges. So I think we can move then to Mpumalanga, the Lekwa intervention project. This was also a municipality that was found in dire state, with service delivery failures and operational breakdowns, particularly in Standerton, but also in the surrounding areas. Through ministerial intervention, the Gatsibande district municipality was appointed as an implementing agent. So in this case, we appointed the district municipality to implement the projects on behalf, or to intervene in the local Lekwa municipality. And the intervention included 17 projects: refurbishment of Standerton water treatment works, upgrading of bulk systems, and also the operational performance. in this regard, we also got an exception from National Treasury. So the progress, this intervention was requested that we report on, but it is virtually complete. It's at 98% with 16 projects completed and the 17th project basically very close to completion. The only remaining works is final optimization works, and it's targeted for completion at the end of the year. But most of the benefits of these projects have already been realized, and significant improvements have been made in terms of both the reliability and quality of water supply, as well as the sewer spillages and effluent in the Lekwa municipality. Yeah, I think I've covered most of this. So the impact is that more than 80% of the residents are now receiving constant water supply. Challenges in Lekwa, I think the main one again to highlight is the concern, even though in Lekwa the municipality has committed to perform the necessary operation and maintenance, we are concerned in terms of the municipality's capacity to provide the necessary operation and maintenance without the full reform that might be required, considering that the municipality hasn't really changed the state it was in when this infrastructure was previously neglected. So we need to observe that. Just quickly on the other interventions, I think other notable ones which weren't requested specifically for the report are in the northwest, the Bulela Metsi program. Through ministerial intervention, a project and political steering committee was established to oversee these projects and unlock the projects or provide the necessary structures to allow unlocking of the projects. Progress has been achieved in this regard with the Brits water treatment works planned for completion in this year. Mafikeng South Water Supply and Setlagole and a number of projects. Those are the ones implemented by Magalies, but also other projects in Northwest where the structure was able to unlock certain bottlenecks that were experienced in the province. But there are still challenges being experienced there, but there is progress being made. Eastern Cape I've already covered in the presentation. And then in the Western Cape, there's also notable interventions through ministerial intervention in Knysna and in Kannaland, local municipalities. That was during the recent drought period, where Overberg Water was appointed as an implementing agent and allocated 29 million, and where they are refurbishing boreholes and groundwater sources and upgrading water infrastructure in the Western Cape. So the interventions are across the whole country. In concluding, for the concluding remarks then, so although we are experiencing significant challenges, also with cooperation of water service authorities to accept the directive, we've been able to enter into agreements with these municipalities, even with these challenges, but in a lot of cases it has resulted in significant delays. But in any we have still achieved quite measurable impact through these interventions, particularly through better grant financed infrastructure delivery. However, there are still the challenges that remain. Particularly the one that I think repeatedly noted in this presentation is that these interventions provide infrastructure and repairs to infrastructure, but do not address the underlying institutional causes that have resulted in the infrastructure regressing, and that we need to address that, and that's also where the water action plan is coming in, as well as the white paper on local government. We also foresee that addressing a lot of these institutional challenges that we need in order to ensure sustainability of these interventions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that comprehensive presentation. It's much appreciated. Minister, would you like to add on something, or you or the DG or one of the deputy ministers? Or
No, Honorable Chair, I'll be messing you up. We are well covered. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We will now go to questions. As usual, Honorable Reddy is first. Good morning, Honorable Reddy. You're more than welcome to ask your first 3 questions.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. Please bear with me because I'm really struggling today and I cannot get out of my mind what we heard from ordinary people during our public hearings in the Northwest and in Mpumalanga. And I think it's absolutely relevant that immediately after we went to Northwest,
Honorable Reddy, I can't hear you. I'm not sure whether it's my signal or yours.
are you there? Hello, can you hear me? Am I audible?
You were breaking away. We couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you, yes.
Must I start again?
Well, we've picked up Northwest and then it collapsed.
I think the point I'm making, and I'd like the minister to hear this, we heard a case where an elderly woman told us that elderly people are defecating in plastic packets and asking their grandchildren to throw these packets into the bushes, happening because there's no sanitation. And just think about that. That is somebody's grandmother. That's somebody's mother, Minister. And where is their dignity? We heard about communities that are going weeks without water, schools affected because the water is unsafe to drink. We also heard
Honorable Reddy, you've really got a bad connection.
don't work. People of runs are being spent. And then becomes, are the members hearing me? Maybe it's not on my side. Hello? Hello?
Well,
No, I also can't hear.
He can close his video.
Okay, let's close the video. Is it better now?
continue.
Okay, so we come here now and we hear that it's a municipal problem. Colleagues, I'm not speaking to you as a member of the opposition political party. I'm speaking to you as colleagues, as human beings. That grandmother doesn't know DWS from Copta. She doesn't care whether the failure belongs to national, provincial, or local government. She just knows that government has failed her. And if what we hear does not move us as human beings, then I genuinely don't know what will. Now, today, we are told that the 2023 ministerial intervention in Northwest has unlocked stalled projects, that projects are progressing and boreholes are being fixed. But hang on, we just came from Northwest, and those of you that were there, you heard what the people were saying to us. We listened to them, so help us understand this disconnect, because the presentation today says more than 4 billion rands has been allocated over the MTF and describes major projects as being at an advanced stages. Yet people are still coming before Parliament and saying we don't have water. Then something does not add up. Please don't tell me how many boreholes you repaired. Tell us how many people have water. Don't tell us how many projects have been unlocked. Tell us whether water comes out of the taps. Don't tell us how many billions have been allocated. Tell us what changed in that grandmother's life, because that is how ordinary people measure government. We heard a woman come to us and tell us that raw sewage is spilling through the streets and that children have to walk through this daily. That is how ordinary people are seeing life, and they're going to measure us not by us telling them it is a Copta problem or it is a human settlements problem. Chairperson, this brings me to the elephant in the room, and let's accept this. We can intervene. We can appoint water boards. We can drill another 100 boreholes. We can spend another 4 billion. But who is ultimately responsible for these systems after they're built? The department's own presentation speaks about municipalities appointing incapable service providers, poor work, cost escalation, incomplete procurement documentation, and serious audit findings. So we cannot keep dancing around this problem. where there is corruption, political interference, and incompetence in municipalities, no amount of money is going to fix this. And we politicians must also look in the mirror. Councillors belong to political parties here. Municipal leaders are supported by political parties here. And those political parties are represented in this parliament and around this committee. No, I'm not talking politics, Chair. So when people connected to our own political organizations are failing communities, do we protect the party or do we protect the people? I don't care what color T-shirt that councillor is wearing. If you steal from the poor, you must go. If officials are stealing money meant to give people water, they must go. And they must face the full might of the law. If these contractors take public money and don't deliver, they must be held accountable. Otherwise, we are spending billions and billions, and 5 years from now, another committee will be sitting here discussing the same broken infrastructure. And that is why I don't understand why we continue operating in silos. Where is COPTA? Where is human settlements? Where is treasury? Why aren't we sitting around one table with one plan, dealing with the municipality, its finances, its infrastructure, its officials, and its leadership at the same time? Because your own presentation, Chair, acknowledges that previous support measures have failed and that provincial interventions have proven ineffective. And you talk about Section 63. The department itself tells us that it has primarily provided intensified support rather than actually using Section 63 to assume responsibility for failed function. So I ask, how bad must it get? How many weeks without water? How many sewage spills? How many broken boreholes? How much money must disappear? At what point does the minister finally say enough? We've had enough now. We are taking over this function. Look at uThukela. We are talking about an intervention valued at approximately 3.25 billion rand. Yet this presentation tells us no expenditure has been recorded to date and progress has largely remained at planning stage. How do I explain that to that woman that was standing in front of us, telling us that she must defecate in a bucket in the mornings because there's no sanitation? How do we tell that to that blind man that came to us and told us that weeks they don't have water? Hey, we cannot drink business plans. They cannot wash with ministerial directives. They want water, Chairperson. Perhaps the most frightening admission in this entire presentation is that even after the interventions, the underlying institutional and operational problems remain, and the poor maintenance, infrastructure deterioration, and lack of technical capacity can lead to recurring failures. So what are we doing? Are we spending billions repairing infrastructure only to hand it back to the same broken system and useless, corrupt councillors and officials that allowed it to collapse in the first place? Chair, I keep coming back to that grandmother, that plastic bucket, because it's stuck in my head. Imagine if that was your mother. Imagine if that was your grandmother. Would we still be discussing which sphere of government is responsible? Would we still pointing fingers at each other? Or would we get up and do something about it? I am begging each one of you. This is not a joke. People are suffering out there. We sit and talk politics here while people are battling with no water. Water cannot be a statistic, Chair. Water, we say, is life. We talk about sanitation being dignity. How can we allow that grandmother or any human being that should be forced to live worse than animals in this country? We can't allow this to happen. Let's get together and let's do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There was no questions really, but it's a comment made. And Deputy Minister, I see you opened your video. Are you going to respond to that, or is the Minister?
The Minister would want me to come in first. She will conclude. And a very good morning. A very good morning to our Minister, Comrade Matjhabeng, DM Bloom, yourselves, Chair, and honorable members. Honorable Reddy, we do have the same experiences like you do. We do go to the ground, and it's a very good experience that you as public representatives, you go to the ground. But equally, ours, we have a responsibility and obligation as leaders so that we resolve the problem. One of the biggest issues that you can't fault the Department of Water and Sanitation under Minister Matjhabeng. For the first time, there is a high level of leadership on water. That has never happened before. Those of us who grew up in the water sector for nearly 30 years now, including yourself, who has very good experience there. For the first time, we are having a president who has said this matter is a crisis. We are actually saying a minister who's always on the ground, engaging yourselves, the country and the world on the issue of water. For the first time, there is an appreciation that water and sanitation is everybody's business. The damage, Honorable Reddy, has been too big for some time. And when we actually engage in the points of debate, we must also be in a position to clarify issues. There are limitations in the legislation and the law. That's why yourself with honorable members led by Honorable Pasoni, we have been traversing the country. This minister of ours, Comrade Sispemi, she has been clear to you that there are limitations in the constitutional architecture around water delivery. This constitutional architecture is very clear where actually the race starts and ends in terms of handing over the baton. The Department of Water and Sanitation, you can see now, in areas where there's been a failure by those entrusted by the law to perform their function, it cannot be accused that it has not provided support within the constitutional framework in terms of Section 154. We've done that. And we are supporting these municipalities, Chair. You look at the budget we've passed, just this year alone, 400 projects are meant to support municipality to deliver water and sanitation services in a reliable and sustainable way. It's on record. These projects, DITMA and DG, can demonstrate how many are completed, how many are on progress, and how many are on planning. We've fulfilled that particular part. Secondly, the law says that if a water services authority fails to do certain function, we'll have to intervene. But intervention of Section 63, Chairperson, can never and should never be arbitrarily in a constitutional democracy. That's why very clear in some of these municipalities that the team has given you now, you could see that the intervention was preceded by Section 139, and then in certain instances is an injunction by the courts. Therefore, on our side, we have done everything humanly possible to support and intervene. Though there are limitations, Chairperson, Minister is clear where there are these interventions, whether in terms of Section 63 or Section 139 of the Constitution, there is no financial provision that is being made. And our accounting officer had to make means where we're to rebalance and be able to intervene. These interventions that have been given here, Chairperson, they are all successful, but Honorable Reddy, we are correct on the question of sustainability. If you look all of them, most of them, they are about sanitation-related matters. When they are sanitation-related matters, you go in there, you resolve one problem, and then you find another problem. I was personally involved on behalf of the Minister at Mfuleni for a number of years, where more than 40 pump stations were actually vandalized, taken out. Water, our most capable institution, go to Extension 10 in Sebokeng, you go to Everton, and the investment that has been made, including the sewer that was running back into people's homes where I visited personally. And you could see that that sewer was removed. Though there are many issues that are systematic in local government, you find someone has overstretched their house, encroached into a servitude to them, they're over the line. Then there was an issue of the main sewer lines that are actually blocked that come from Johannesburg entering them. After we completed this thing, and Water currently is doing module 7 now to add additional 50 megaliters that is required to them. We are absolutely correct that local government has its own weaknesses, but those weaknesses cannot be attributed to us. That problem, Water could see that it's not a sustainable business. That's why Water had to come in at a risk. Now when communities are saying, but now we can see we are doing something on sewer, what are you doing now on the question of water? That municipality, you know that it was having a non-revenue water of 72%. And Water is there, that intervention is sustainable. Go home to my province. I know you're in Gersebande. They can tell you now, Standerton has been actually polluting the river system called Vaal, let alone the epicenter in Gauteng. Sewer was getting into schools. I was there on the ground on behalf of Minister Matjhabeng. Human settlements were built, very beautiful houses. They were not connected. The sewer was flashing back into communities. That problem, including the pump station, Minister Matjhabeng delivered to them. That area now has a proper sanitation system. Then your point on sustainability, I do agree the capacity for the municipality. And I can tell you now, where to fix the problem of water. Remember, that was an intervention by the court, where the Minister of Finance was told in, hey, come in here, fix the problem. The water treatment works that actually takes water from the Vaal River System in a bad condition. Now, Honorable Reid, you know that that treatment works now is overflowing, the water is available. But then the historical issues about pipes that are bursting, that needs to be fixed, is what to do. uThukela, Honorable Reid, I'm happy you're a member of Water Board, uMkhanyakude at a time. The politics. Remember, you as uMkhanyakude, as our entity, were fired then because of the other parties then. They kicked you out, they never wanted to work with you. Then they were able to actually never even wanted to pay. You also know that we did an intervention when you're still a member of the board. We did an intervention in King Cetshwayo there in that particular district. When you took over from this uMkhanyakude water, remember what happened to the MM there. It's not this minister, Comrade Reid, Honorable Reid. We are trying to intervene, they're working. One thing I can fully agree with you, sorting out the water issue, it will never be sustainable until we fix local government. That's why Minister Hlabisa and all of us in cabinet were saying fixing local government is a prerequisite to resolve many of the issues that are there, and the reforms that we're proposing, either delivery model, that you can see. Have you seen that after we've spoken about this thing? We top slice our own money. Minister took more than 200 and something million rand for the communities that don't have access to water. We went to Hammanskraal. Hammanskraal, you know, Honorable Reid, you work at Tegwin. We're not supposed to go in there. The money from human settlement, which is USDG, they were supposed to go in. But we spent our big because Treasurer agreed. We built the 50 million megaliters package plant that President opened. That actually has given relief in as much it is not a panacea. We went to Giyani. You will know you were in the system yourself, leadership. You were in the system. We went to Giyani. It was not our problem. In Giyani, we went in there. We thought this issue is going to cost less than 100 million rand. Now we've spent more than 4.8 billion rand. That we bring water over kilometers and kilometers from one region to the other, and 24 communities as I speak right now. It's a story that we can say, but however, I fully agree that the experience of some communities and some businesses still remain a concern for this ministry. That's why we'll do whatever it takes to support and in certain instances intervene where we can intervene. But the resources we have alone as a Department of Water will not be able to do. That's why we need a whole of government approach, including you as legislators. Go ahead, conclude these amendments around the delivery model, but also conclude these amendments around the National Water Act so that we can hold certain individuals accountable, including big capital that is actually opposed to transformation around issues of water reallocation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister, would you like to add something to that?
No, Chair. That's enough. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. DG, would you like to add?
No, thank you. I'm covered. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Honorable Reddy, that was the response.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister, my good friend. You have become like a PR campaign for the department. Well done. Let me just say that the amendments you speak about to the Water Services Act is not necessarily going to solve the problem. But I hear you. And once again, from what you've said, the problem is there. We know where the problem lies. It's only when we take the bull by the horns and deal with the real elephant in the room, it's only then that that grandmother will get sanitation and water will start flowing properly again. Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ditebe, your questions?
Good morning to you, Chair, all the honorable members, Minister, Deputy Ministers, and the executives accompanying the DG himself. Chairperson, I think Honorable Reddy has already spoken to a number of challenges that we were exposed to from communities. I'd like to perhaps talk to the following from the presentation that's been made, or that was made a short while ago. With regards to a number of provinces, let me start with Mpumalanga. I heard in the presentation that the Overberg Water Board has intervened to restore the boreholes in certain areas in the Western Cape. We were told by residents in Mpumalanga in the Northwest, most probably we might encounter that in Limpopo. What is it that the department is doing to ensure that after these boreholes have been drilled, from the point of view of functionality, that the department works with the municipality, be it a district or local municipality, whichever is a WSA, so that the department can continually support the municipality. For example, we know that when a borehole is drilled, some of the water, the groundwater may move, and this may result, therefore, in the borehole in question or boreholes just being a white elephant. Of course, some of the challenges, the department itself will not be able to solve them, such as the theft of fuel or diesel. As we heard in Mpumalanga, that obviously means that collaborative approach between the department, municipalities, and COCTA is necessary to ensure that the well-being of the people is indeed protected as per the letter and spirit of the Constitution. Because when one went to these provinces, two provinces, one got a sense of good intent on the part of the department, the interventions there. But the challenge always seems to be what happens in the aftermath of the installation of such infrastructure. The other issue, Chairperson, I think Deputy Minister has already spoken to the issue of the National Water Act, which will also be coming soon. And you heard in Mpumalanga, there are also farmers that are diverting the river streams, etc. And people ask questions all the time. Why is it that some of us live next to rivers, etc., but we do not get water? Now, I'm asking whether interventions such as what happened in Gwaglimba, and I think it's KwaZulu-Natal has done very well, where a decision was made that, despite a long legacy or practice of people living next to rivers, etc., or sources of water, certain packages for water treatment works, such as what happened in Gwaglimba, will be installed so that you remove that grievance. And we heard this in the Northwest, people living next to rivers, the Dinukana municipality, etc., were complaining about same. Which then brings me to this particular question, Chairperson, about the use of the grant system. Indeed, RBIC and WISIC are under the jurisdiction of the department. But I think what the National Water Action Plan envisages is that collaborative approach, and which means, therefore, that we cannot leave out the municipal infrastructure grant and the agency that is responsible for the MIG, but also IFISA, Chairperson, although we know that maybe relates to very big projects, etc. But I think in terms of the intent of the National Water Action Plan as announced by the President, we need to start working collaboratively across the departments. It sounds banal, but I think it is important that we emphasize that, because where water and sanitation is limited in terms of what grant funding it commands, others such as, COCTA, etc., need to come, or even human settlements need to come to the fore to ensure that these issues are resolved. Lastly, Chairperson, I can attest to the fact that the department has done very well through the agency of the Vaal Central Water in Matjhabeng. But there is an issue still of the spillages, sewer spillages, not because the infrastructure that the department has built through the agency of the WSP is of a questionable standard, but because there are still issues that are unresolved of the reticulation network. Either the old network made of asbestos, etc., has not been completely resolved, and the integration of the entire drainage system, which therefore means that notwithstanding about 22 water pumps having been delivered in this area, we still have those spillages. Now, is the department, lastly, working with the municipality, for example, to check whether what spillages there are, those, say, are attributable to foreign objects being deposited into the drainage system, through the network, the manholes, etc., and what portion of the spillages is attributable to poor or collapsed infrastructure, which the department has indicated that it wants to replace. And lastly, Chairperson, the issue of funding. I know that from the point of view of economics, you always have to deal with two fundamental questions of scarcity and opportunity cost. Resources are not limitless. But in terms of the pipeline, to ensure that the challenges that we heard in Mpumalanga, in the Northwest, and we'll hear these in other provinces as well, from the point of view of water and sanitation, that we can assure people, again in line with the National Water Action Plan, that even though at the moment you do not have 1, 2, 3, 4, you will get some relief at some point, and when that will be done by, etc. There is also the issue of the corporate social investment. If you look at the Hippo water rollers, Chairperson, where people have to either go to get their water from the boreholes, etc., can't we have both the private sector, even some of our WSPs, etc., collaborating, or whichever other entity, to ensure that we elevate the plight of ordinary people. One, they'll be able to get more water because some of those are about 90 liters. They can either pull them or push them so that as far as possible, we remain within the framework of the round trip of 200 meters that a person, in terms of our policy, is allowed to make a round trip that a person is allowed to make to fetch water, but also other interventions from the point of view of the quality of water, because some of these water tankering, etc. That's also another issue. I know that it is not the responsibility directly of the department, but again, drawing on the intent, and it must not be a mere aspiration of the National Water Action Plan. Municipalities cannot hide behind Schedule 4B and Section 156, etc., when in fact a clearing call, something akin to what the government did with COVID in terms of the National Water Action Plan, that clearing call has been made that let's respect what the Constitution promises the people in terms of Section 27 in respect of water, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Allow me not to open the video. I'm in transit. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, Honorable Editebe. Let me, on that note of Matjhabeng, say what we are supposed to do. He has witnessed it, Honorable Editebe. Some portfolio committee members have witnessed the good work that we've done when almost all water waste a treatment plant were vandalized to an extent that there was nothing left. There was nothing left. We had to start from the scratch up to where we have a three-system protection in terms of around the fence, which has 3 layers, in ensuring that there will be no more people who intrude, even at the gate, where we even have the spray where an unidentified person will be sprayed there and will get him or her the next day. So we have gone all out to come up with a well-advanced security system. But the fact is, which has been raised even in our last week's meeting by the portfolio committee, to say, having invested such an amount, how do we ensure that the infrastructure does not collapse again? We tried our luck to approach National Treasury, not only for that of Matjhabeng, but also for the centralized water supply schemes that we've just launched, to say, how do you then ensure that operations and maintenance is happening? We tried our luck with the National Treasury to say, can you allow us to ring fence an amount out of our grant and assist? But unfortunately, we're not allowed to do so. We're not allowed. We tried. We took up the matter with the president, and the president, we met with the president on Thursday, the 14th, and the 13th. The president have said must also make a submission to check how far can we go. So we are trying to bend the arm of National Treasury, because we do understand that as we head over those state-of-art infrastructure, 6 months down the line, they are vandalized, and that will mean that we're working at a loss. So we are taking note of that. In terms of other CSIR, what do you do with that? We, on the 2nd of September, we are meeting with some private sector on an adopt a village concept, which is part of reaching out to unserved communities. Already we're working with Coca-Cola. We are working with premium food on groundwater projects, wherein we are now calling the beverage companies, the hospitality companies who are using a lot of water, and we are saying to them, plow back to these communities. For you to prosper, you need these communities. They are your support. So on the 2nd of September, we have a national webinar with them where they will be making further commitments. We have invited a lot of that. The public hearings that you are conducting are really assisting in terms of exposing some of the things that we've been saying all along. Not that we are kicking the can down the street, but these are realities of what is happening on the ground. The capacity that is lacking in some municipalities have also made things very difficult for us. For those who are closer to the rivers and hogging water, we are acting on that. Hence, we are now saying we must, whilst we have the ward councillor and the ward committee, now we are establishing the water and sanitation committees, who will be our eyes and ears on the ground when there are such issues where there are people who are closer to the river who take a lot of water unto themselves. We agreed that the water must be shared equitably so, and we cannot allow anyone to monopolize water. The sewer spillages in municipalities, it exposes and display that it is not very easy in terms of the maintenance and operation in municipalities. And if we had our own way, as our slogan says, that sanitation is dignity, but it can't be the sewer that goes to the household that can make it a dignity. So we advise municipalities regulate, but the earlier submission, I think it was Honorable Reddy, about working together with human settlement, with COPTA. Indeed, that is what the water action plan is has agreed upon, that let's come together. But there will still be that missing link of where the maintenance and the operation is supposed to happen at a municipal level. Dear Matjhabeng will add up. As I requested Chair to be excused at 10:30, may I be excused? Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister. You are excused. Deputy Minister, do you want to add to that?
I think let's welcome the input by Honorable Matjhabeng. Very helpful. Honorable Matjhabeng will need support going forward. The example of KwaXimba, the others that Minister has referred to, is part of the program we are calling reaching out to those that are called unserved communities. And it's an important matter. And Minister, like she said, we are looking at spring protection, use of groundwater, deployment of package plants. Remember, we did it in KwaXimba, a very, very good example. Now we've done it in Hammanskraal, and there are a lot of groundwater systems that we call decentralized water supply system. We want it to roll out more and more, but it will require funding. It will require funding. And we fully agree with you that the whole issue of collaboration, we can improve. We can improve. The President has tried in terms of the National Water Com to include all the necessary departments to support Minister Matjhabeng. We have the Ministry of COGTA, Minister of Finance, And we also have the Minister of Human Settlement. There is also Minister of Environment there because of the issues of pollution that are happening. There's a work stream that deals with the question of corruption and malfeasance and vandalism of infrastructure. The acting Minister of Police is there. But we can't fix this thing without local government. President has invited local government. But wherever we work, through the district development model, the intervention in Johannesburg, intervention at eThekwini, you could see bringing in experts, civil society, and all those, and including the support that we've been receiving from you. We have been the best support system, but we have retained your independent minds as members of the committee because that's what we like from you so that we can see things very differently. There's a leg, Honorable Matjhabeng, where you make reference to Schedule 4 of the Constitution. In that particular leg, there's something called legislative review and environment. There are gaps in the environment, like we are raising. There are gaps the what Honorable Reddy has raised. And we need to use this window of opportunity now of the review of local government and white paper to say what we need to strengthen in terms of institutionally, legislatively, so that we can do more. But the last point, the DG and the teams were all looking to say, after an infrastructure has been delivered worth millions of rands, it gets to be actually given to an entity by law that was supposed to give, and the entity is not ready. The conditions are not ready. What do we do? Hence, the minister says, we are looking at that. The president gave us an assignment, the minister, myself, and DM Bloom, and the DG to say what our suggestion. For an example, people are supposed to put O&M in terms of standard operating procedure of 8%. They have not done it. And then in MIC, there was always a provision for 10%, which is mandatory. In our own grants, we need to check the conditionality of grants so that we can do. But at the very same time, we can't continue to do something called irresponsible, like Reddy was raising and yourself, of giving an asset on an institution that is not ready. Probably we must agree on what is the best mechanism. And these are some of the discussion we're hoping to do. The last point is the relationship between people and infrastructure. That relationship, it has to change. It must be symbiotic. You know from where you come from in Matjhabeng, those illegal miners, they are causing the biggest damage to infrastructure. They are causing the biggest damage. There's a lot of vandalism, people throwing in things in the main holes. Sometimes some of them, they're actually even depositing sanitary towels, including stillborn babies. There's a lot of things that you find that talk our system. But when I was in eThekwini just recently, I was so pleased to look that there's advances in technology and how they design things. You know, those main holes now, they are no longer using the steel one, Honorable Matjhabeng, because some people, they steal them. Because, you know, the problem of ferrous and non-ferrous equipment or materials. But at the very same time, the installation of the grid, and the grid is actually helping a lot. Very, very advanced technologies that we need to deploy so that at least we can protect infrastructure. The other issues around the network, the DG and ourselves, we do have the data to fix the network on the basis of our drop reports. Requires us to give probably more than 400 billion rands, which is a figure which is more than 3 to 5 years old now. There's a lot of money that we require so that at least that network must be replaced. After it has been replaced, then we can be able to attend to its management. Once again, thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. DG, there was a specific question the honourable member asked about if the department sink boreholes. How do you monitor whether that is still functional? Or whose responsibility would that then be? The municipalities? Can you maybe just respond to that?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, it is the responsibility of the municipalities. if we're given grant money by National Treasury to give to municipalities, it has to end up in infrastructure owned by municipalities. It can't end up in infrastructure owned by us. So if the infrastructure is owned by the municipalities, they are then responsible for the maintenance. And they have to use revenue from the sale of water or the portion of the equitable share, which is meant to provide free basic water to the indigent in order to fund that maintenance. So we can't do the maintenance. We're not allowed to use the grants for that purpose, and we don't have a budget for it ourselves. It is the municipal responsibility. And we come back to the problem of municipalities not budgeting for that function adequately. But we are engaging in various measures to try and mitigate that risk, including with our access program. We are putting a lot of emphasis on community involvement in borehole projects to see if the communities can take ownership of the projects and can then also, either on their own or working together with the municipality, ensure that the boreholes are protected from vandalism and also that they're adequately maintained and properly operated. Can I ask Dietmar and other colleagues if they would like to add, Chair?
You're welcome.
Dietmar?
Okay. No, thank you, DG, and thank you, Chair. I think we've been to a large extent covered, but it is indeed, we need to work closely with the municipalities. We've set up a standard operating procedure for all our boreholes, which include the conditions in terms of how they should be monitored and operated and maintained. And that is also provided to the municipalities. But as DG indicated, it is still the way the responsibilities are set up. Is the responsibility is with the municipality, but we do work then closely with the municipalities through our provincial offices to ensure that they are fully on board with the projects that we implement, so that they then are also ready and prepared to take over that operation and maintenance. But yeah, we do experience those challenges that the municipalities that we do then not get that the maintenance done. I would like to maybe just call one of our provincial heads from Mpumalanga, Ms. Sifunda, to also just add on how they, from a provincial point of view, manage that where the municipalities are failing to operate those boreholes and maintain them. Can I ask her to come in, please?
You're welcome. May I, before she comes in, I just want to add something that we've picked up in this last 2 weeks, is that indeed the boreholes are drilled, but it is not equipped with pumping facilities. So there's 42 boreholes in the area that's been drilled, but there's no water because there is no pumping facilities added to that borehole, and that is money waste. And maybe can also respond to that as well. Thank you.
Dudu?
Thank you very much. Greetings to the chair, the minister, the PM, present, and the members, and all protocol observed. Chair, I think from our side, I just want to confirm what has been indicated by the DG as well as the DM, that indeed after the boreholes are completed, especially in our province, the municipalities usually they give us a commitment to say that they will operate and maintain the boreholes, but because of the challenges that are there, you do find that that those boreholes are not operated and maintained properly. But from our provincial office, we also have our water resource unit that from time to time, they also do groundwater monitoring. They also do the water availability studies in the catchment. So where there are challenges in terms of boreholes getting dry, those reports also are furnished to the municipalities so that they can implement those challenges. And then in other areas whereby you find that boreholes are drilled, most of the time it is not boreholes that are drilled by the department, but some of the boreholes you will find they are drilled by agriculture, some are drilled by the municipality, and some are drilled by other stakeholders. And then in terms of equipping the boreholes, as the department, it is one of our programs that we are doing currently in terms of the unserved communities. But those ones that are drilled and are left unattended by the municipality, we usually find an issue. Some, they will say they are drilled. When they were drilling them, they could not find water, but those that are drilled, they will indicate that they don't have funds to drill. But from the work that we are also doing with Coxa, from the MIG, they also allocate some portion to equip the borehole, but most of the time they don't implement it, which is the biggest challenge that we are facing in terms of those boreholes, because from our own allocation, we are unable to fund them fully to equip those boreholes that you find that they are drilled and not equipped, which in terms of the program that we are working with, that the minister has elevated on unserved communities. It is the work that we are working very closely with the municipalities to ensure that such is implemented and it is improved. Those are the few additions I would also like to add, Chair. But also on the package plans, our municipalities, they fund the package plans through MIG. We usually recommend the package plan. I think when the committee was in Graskop, there was one member of the community from Block B who also complained on the issue of water. We just recommended one of their technical reports under MIG so that they can implement the package plans to be able to bring water to the communities. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Chair, with your permission, I'll request that we allow the Group CEO of Rainwater to say something on how are we ensuring that using groundwater in terms of the decentralized water supply system is sustainable, because what you experience is just people who are taking chances without a proper standard operating procedure. If we can allow him a minute or two, Sipomsai, to say something. This is how we're advancing going forward, so that nobody can just go around and do what they are doing.
Before he comes on, can I just find out, DG, I see your hand is up.
Thank you, Chairperson. I also wanted to just answer Honourable Ditebe's question about collaboration with COGTA around MIG. We do, Honourable Ditebe, have very close collaboration with COGTA at the provincial level. Our regional offices all have regular meetings with the MIG teams in the provincial COGTA departments, which are responsible for distributing the MIG and allocating it to projects. We coordinate very carefully to ensure that there isn't double dipping by municipalities between the MIG and the WISIG. And we also coordinate with regard to planning and prioritization of projects to be funded. So I just wanted to reassure the honourable member that there is very close collaboration between ourselves and COGTA at provincial level. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Masai.
Yes, good morning, Chairperson, members of the Portfolio Committee, Deputy Minister, and all protocol observed. The dear Mahloba is right. What we from Rainwater point of view have been doing in the last number of years is to move away from just drilling boreholes, but building what you call decentralized water supply systems. When we roll these out, Honorable Ditebe, we ensure that they are fully packaged from issues of having the relevant and the correct pumping systems, so that you don't have a borehole that is not functional because it's not fully equipped. But we're also storing purification supply system where we filter the water and disinfect it with ultraviolet systems to ensure we completely kill the bacteria. And from those boreholes, and that is why we call them decentralized systems, after purification, we're able to reticulate from a central place or into the community in the decentralized manner to cover those unserviced areas. So part of what we are doing is to ensure that we not only equip them, but that they are functionally sustainable in the long run, and they're operated, maintained by the community. We mobilize the community mobilizes itself in terms of firstly training, capacity development, having the right people to run those plants, and beyond them, maintain them. We leave them with operating manuals, and it becomes, a public ownership community scheme. And of course, the municipality supports them. But the ownership, it's not largely driven by the municipality, it's driven by them. They take ownership, they operate, they maintain, and we assist them in terms of upgrading going forward. Included in that is to also ensure from the sources of power point of view, because some of them do struggle because they are isolated with issues of electricity to pump or power these decentralized systems. We are also now rolling solar power system with minimal battery storage to ensure that they're sustainable. So on behalf of the department, as Rainwater through our Rainwater Foundation, which now will become our primary intervention going forward, not CSI intervention, together with the department, we're building schemes that, and we don't call them borehole, we're building schemes that are self-sustainable in the long run, and that we don't have challenges that we're currently experiencing with the old way of doing things. So we are also, if like, innovating around ensuring sustainable, secular supply to the communities as we intervene in the interest of sustainable development. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Dikebe, that was the responses.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thanks to the DM, DG, Group CE, and our Mpumalanga PH and other officials. Chairperson, the last response by our Rand Waters, Group CE, is quite reassuring, which means, therefore, that the challenges that we heard that people experience in Mpumalanga, particularly in the Northwest, in Ngakamudire Mulema, Dr. Ruth Homotsi, Mpati district municipalities, even in Matlosana, particularly those district municipalities. Chairperson, I would like to urge, the ministry, the department, to ensure that where some of our water service providers, such as your Mahalis, and we all heard frustrations, pent-up anger, frustration on the part of communities about what they perceive to be a huge weakness on the part of Mahalis, and they may not know the exact technical details, liquidity position of the water service provider, etc. But I think what is important is that the sort of intervention that our Group CE is talking about, how they drill these boreholes and integrate them to ensure reliability of water, but also the quality of water is assured in terms of Sense 241, even as we use the borehole system. That we ensure that there is indeed collaboration between one WSP and another, in this instance, Rand Water and Mahalis. And I think they all have to see themselves as part of an integrated ecosystem to better the lives of the people, which then brings me, Chairperson, to just last 2 points. DM has indeed responded, and so has the Minister, in respect of Matjhabeng. But remember that unless you also, and before I move to this next point, yes, indeed, foreign objects will be found in the drainage system, etc. That is why I asked the question about the specific portion of challenges that are attributable to that undesirable practice on the part of residents, and the system itself having collapsed or being in a poor state. There will always also, Chairperson, the problem will be exacerbated by such things as the wastewater treatment plant not being powered. When you and I and other colleagues were last in Matjhabeng, we were assured that, you know, the use of the generator was just an interim measure. But I can tell you that right now, while indeed that project, as per that is the refurbishment of the 12 megaliter wastewater treatment plant, is nearing completion, and so is the other one in Kutlanong, etc. And I want to stick to this one of Thabong. We are still going to have spillages unless the issue between the municipalities, the problem between the municipality and Eskom is resolved in terms of powering that particular plant, because it's just way too expensive. Neither can you put together a few PV panels to operate that. You've got to get power from the grid, from Eskom. And so that is one issue. The last one, Chairperson, just along the same lines as the integrated system that our Group CE is talking about with regards to the borehole system, etc. We need non-sewer sanitation in areas that are in the outskirts of urban areas, etc., your rural areas. And this is exactly the problem that we heard. And I think this DM Mahlobo now goes to the issue of the omnibus legislation that is required to ensure that whatever hurdles or whatever it is that is in the PFMA, for example, that may not allow government to procure its own IP. And I'm talking here about what the Water Research Commission won an award for in Thailand, the non-sewer sanitation system. We need to roll that out. And if there are any red tapes, etc., from the legislation, such as the PFMA, we need, through your leadership, to ensure that, you know, cabinet is approached to say, let's change this bit of this particular public finance management legislation so that we gravitate towards the letter and spirit of the Constitution, but to also truly actualize the National Water Action Plan. So while these are comments, it is actually a plea to our department through the leadership of our executive authority to ensure that these people, you know, while I heard lots of pain, you know, when people were talking, I think once we start moving, people's confidence will be restored and their hope. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Moore.
Thank you, Chair. Oh, unless someone else needs to come in. Chair, I've had a few questions, but to be honest, they've been largely covered by my previous two honourable colleagues. I'd like to emphasize I really respect the passion that Honourable already spoke with. The circumstances that we're seeing on these visits are very serious, and it's directly linked to the presentation in that they're failed infrastructure projects. The presentation shows that these interventions can deliver real improvements, but it also highlights the recurring problem. Infrastructure can be completed without the underlying service delivery failure being permanently resolved. Chair, you mentioned the boreholes that are built but never functional. There's far too much infrastructure like this, and the department acknowledges they're completing projects without the confidence that the municipalities will be able to maintain those projects. In fact, Mfuleni is the perfect example. The second Rand Water stopped intervening. I think it's only been a month or so, and already the number of problems are escalating. This is a really serious issue because the department is trying to rectify years of failure. And a lot of the projects, the bills that we're dealing with are designed to rectify years of failure. We've got the Giyani project, which is a good example. It started in 2014. It was supposed to be finished in 2017. It looks like hopefully the first phase should be done soon, either this month or hopefully soon. but the actual second phase will only be started in 2028, 10 years, over 10 years after it was meant to be finished. And Giyani is obviously a nice high-profile example, but we know many of these projects are delayed. And I recognize the historical challenges that we have faced. Everywhere we go, we see broken infrastructure, which is partially linked to this failure point of departmental work or grant-funded projects that get completed and then fall apart. Almost every village we hear about tells us they get no support, but then they tell us, actually, no, there's a borehole here. It just doesn't work. Either it never worked or it did work, but it broke. And I think, Chair, intrinsically, we needed a solution to that. And I'm hoping, obviously, the Water Services Amendment Bill will be part of that solution. But we have to recognize that a lot of the money being spent on projects, I'm concerned whether it can even be spoken about potentially as wasteful expenditure in a way, because we're building it and having to hand it over in a manner that we know it will fall apart. We know the millions, hundreds of millions or billions won't work. And it's a real crisis, because if we don't get on top of this element of the issue, the long-term effort to rectify the issues that have happened in the past with the department will fail, and it'll affect the ability of this department to fully reclaim its rightful place as a key implementer of advancing the rights of South Africans. And I say that with the acknowledgement that I really appreciate this report. The DG, the minister, the DMs, they know how much I go on about projects and getting actual information. So this has been excellent to receive this. But the reality, Chair, is, and without belaboring the point further, because I think we've covered a lot of ground already, and I will ask some written questions to get information. We need to very seriously consider this type of intervention and how post Water Services Act we'll be able to get this right, because we aren't getting it right even now, and historically it's been a disaster. And if we don't get it right, we will continue to fail as a department. That's one of the things that becomes clear from this report. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Deputy Minister, that was only a comment, no questions. Would you like to respond to that?
No, thanks, Chairperson. What I appreciate, and thanks to Honourable Moore, is that the country has a conversation now. We are stopping to speaking at each other, but we're starting to speak to each other to say, what do we do? Because calling us here today to account on our support and interventions as provided by law, we can see that there are systematic issues that affect local government. Some of these challenges, Chairperson, are objective reality, very serious objective reality around the configuration of local government and assumptions made. Hence, we participate and support as a ministry the question of the reforms for local government. But then there are subjective issues, Chairperson, and Honourable Moore is correct. Subjective issues in the main will be going to the elections now without actually prescribing to political parties. We must sort out the question of leadership of local government. In the main, most of the challenges have everything to do with leadership. There are certain pockets of excellence where certain leaders are doing the right things, but it does not. Then there's a second component: the quality of those who work in local government. They are good men and women, but there are also men and women who are not supposed to be working, especially in the area where we indicate that it is water-related and sanitation-related. I've always said that a country that has actually invested on infrastructure, whether maintaining the existing assets, whether the new assets, which is a world phenomenon, because remember, even Africa requires about $30 billion per annum. The world will require $7 trillion just to deal with these issues, Chair. But those who work in the system must be people who love their work. They must know their work. If there's a problem, let them respond on time and the decisions are made. And I fully agree with all the members to say the whole of society approach is going to be important, and the whole government approach will be important, because even those of us who are sitting in this platform now, we cannot claim to have the monopoly of wisdom to resolve the issues. There is a plan that the president has put in place. We are engaging many components of our society, business, labor, civil society, and experts, but equally we're on the implementation mode. Let's correct this thing and fix it, not for ourselves, but for the country to work. Because if water and sanitation is available, dignity will be provided, but also business will invest, Chair. When business invests, we are going to get the required jobs that we need. And when we get the required jobs, our people are going to pay for services. Those who can afford, those who can't afford, we must be able to protect them. I fully agree with the comment.
Thank you very much, Minister. Deputy Minister Bloem, would you like to add something to the response of Deputy Minister Mahlobo?
Yes, I absolutely agree that, there's leadership issues involved, and, hopefully that will be clarified after November. And yes, there is a problem of interventions that are not sustainable because, the expertise is not there. And we do need to ensure that local authorities are fully staffed with appropriately qualified people. I think that's really the direction we all agree we need to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. DG?
Nothing additional from me. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honourable Moore, that was the responses, although there wasn't questions on your comment.
No, and I appreciate it. I look forward to I hope, Chair, that we can get more reports like this on a regular basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Kegakilwe, your questions?
Okay, thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to both Deputy Ministers, DG and the team, Chairpersons and the CEs of the board, DG and the officials from the department, our support staff, honorable members, good morning. Chairperson, let me also welcome the work done by the department as well as the boards to support our municipality when it comes to water and sanitation. The work that has been done, it's a lot, and I hope that it has assisted most of our people when it comes to the provision of water. And then, Chairperson, I'll go back to what I've observed during our public hearings, especially in Northwest, because most of the districts, they were complaining about Magalies. And I think it will be better now for Magalies to be made known to people, because some of them, they were saying water was better provided during the Citibank, but they don't know what happened to Citibank. So if we can start communicating with our people and putting them on board on what is exactly happening, then things will go smooth. And then again, back to Magalies, Chairperson, I just want Magalies to attend the issue of water from Taung to Vryburg, because most of the valves are leaking, almost all of them, from Taung to Vryburg, especially between Dry Huts and Vryburg. If those valves can be attended, because Vryburg will go for days without water from Magalies, whereas we are paying because the water is leaking, it's not reaching the end point. So if that one can be attended to, Chairperson, it will be much appreciated. I'll go now to the presentation. Chairperson, for the Imfuleni Section 63 intervention, which was terminated on the 30th June 2023 after a decision by National Treasury not to allow any further use of grant funding for operational support to uMkhanyakude local municipality. What was the reason or reasons for the termination? And did National Treasury do any assessment as to the impact of the termination of the project? Chairperson, the presentation also indicated that the sewer leakages have increased again since the operational support was ended. Was this reported to National Treasury? If yes, what was their response? If not, why not? And then the second issue is with regard to the rainwater. The presentation indicated that for the the presentation indicated that rainwater will provide further detail on the operation and implementation of the special purpose vehicle of uMkhanyakude Section 63 intervention under the long-term institutional solution. So my question here is, why is this report not included, and why is the department indicating that rainwater will provide? Because I thought that when they submit this type of a report, the rainwater milestones will also be included. So I just want to find out when are we going to get that report, and why was it not included in this report? And then the Hammanskraal issue, Chairperson, there are conflicting scenarios because the Hammanskraal intervention was initiated in response to water quality failure and associated public health risk. And then Department of Water and Sanitation through Magalies Water implemented a 50 megaliter per day package treatment plant at Klipdrift as an interim measure, while the city of Tshwane undertakes work on the Vaal wastewater treatment works and timber water treatment works. Chairperson, the following key issues have been identified in relation to the project and the report. The July report recorded overall project progress at 86%. All 4 treatment modules had been completed, while approximately 25 megaliters per day instead of that 50 has been supplied into the distribution system. And then Department of Water and Sanitation attributed approximately 9 months of delay to difficult ground conditions, prolonged rainfall, vandalism, ESCOM-related issues. And the critical work of optimization were expected to be completed by April, while the remaining non-critical work were expected to be completed by June 2026. The August report, Chairperson, described the project in its summary and notable success as completed and handed over on the 18th July 2026. However, the detailed August update reports overall project progress reported at approximately 91% and indicates that optimization and full system integration remain outstanding, with final completion scheduled for October 2026, but the project was handed over. The different descriptions may relate to maybe some different stages of project delivery. Chairperson, I would like to get clarity from the department to get the distinction between the achievement of full supply capacity, handover, physical or practical completion, and final contractual completion. Moreover, given that the report reported delay and movement in the final completion date. Lastly, Chairperson, I just want to find out if there were any financial or cost implications in relation to the extended completion date. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mr. Mthlobo.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. And let's thank Honorable Kehahile for her input. will also be assisted by the DG and the 2 water boards. Safe to say that the initial comment around Mahalis, Honorable Comrade Betty will look at it. But you will recall that Mahalis had some institutional problems, Chairperson, for quite some time in terms of its own capacity. And you can see now that it was not only institutional and also financial, including Libele and the Vaal Central, that yourselves will intervene to support. There are still challenges in the Northwest where certain municipalities, Chairperson, they don't want to enter into service level agreement. Or sometimes, Comrade Kekhailo, you know, they like blaming Mahalis when it's their own responsibility. I know them. That's how local government works in certain instances there. When the matter has nothing to do with Mahalis, they do their own things. I don't want to name those municipalities, Chair. You know them, and Comrade Betty, she knows them, that are doing those funny things. But it does not necessarily mean there are issues of constraint. But Mahalis has been able to deliver this massive project. With respect to the issues of Hammanskraal project and so forth, let's allow that the DG will lead the team around the issues of his interaction with the Minister of Finance, the challenges that are there. The chairperson of Rainwater is here. He will also come through on this other matter. I also thought that the detailed report for Rainwater is attached here. I see on my pack is not attached on SPV, Chair, because we asked that we also put annexures. Because remember, Dietmar was giving the high-level report, but maybe DG, you can assist. Let's allow DG to start, and then you hand over to them to Rainwater, the chair, and then also the chair for Mahalis. They will indicate, Chairperson, whether they need support from their CEs. Thank you.
Thank you, DG.
Thank you, Chair. There was one question as to, with regard to the funding of the operational and maintenance part of the Section 63 intervention in Mfuleni. So as Dietmar indicated when he presented, we had to go to National Treasury and ask for special permission for a deviation actually from the normal conditions associated with the RBIG and the WISIG in the Division of Revenue Act, which indicates that those grants can't be used for operational and maintenance expenditure. National Treasury approved that deviation for a certain amount of time. We then went back to National Treasury and asked for an extension of the deviation so that we could keep funding Randwater to provide operational and maintenance support to Mfuleni for a further period of time. And that period of time was also completed. And we went back to National Treasury again for a second extension of the deviation, and National Treasury refused. And they said that between Mfuleni and Randwater, they must reach some kind of agreement to enable, as they're in the process of setting up the SPV, to enable Randwater to continue to provide operational and maintenance support to Mfuleni. So we did raise it with National Treasury. National Treasury have repeatedly told us that, in principle, operation and maintenance must be funded from revenue from the sale of water. It's not supposed to be funded using the infrastructure grants. So after approving the deviation and extending it once, thereafter they refused to extend it any further. I just wanted to answer that question, Chair, and then I'd like to ask Dietmar to also come in before we ask the 2 water boards to also respond. Dietmar?
Okay, thank you, DG. I think on the matter regarding the Hammanskraal intervention, I just wanted to clarify in that regard. Yes, indeed, the project isn't 100%, hasn't reached 100% yet, and it has been celebrated and handed over. But that is the package plant that is delivering the 50 megaliters. So the 4 units of the package plant are fully operational and able to provide that 50 megaliters. Although other work around the package plant is still ongoing and additional optimization work, but there was reason for being able to or celebrate and launch that completion of that component. There's still work being done with City of Tshwane also to ensure that, you know, through the reticulation of the delivery of the 50 megaliters, that that all the systems had to be flushed and ready to be able to distribute, but that's on the City of Tshwane side as well. But the package plant has been producing and is supplying to the City of Tshwane. So I just wanted to clarify that even though, yeah, on the percentages and even the delay that was mentioned, it was indeed delayed, and the reasons were given for that. But those are the historic delays leading to the point to which it was handed over. In terms of the presentation on the SPV, I think we on our side we attached it as a link. I think that was just an error from our side that we did not download it. It was we were under the impression that it was shared, and we apologize for that. But it was shared as a link and not as part of that attached documents. So that was just an administrative matter, but the presentation has been prepared by Rand Water, so I don't think I'll speak more to that. On Taung to Vryburg also is, we will ask Magalies Water to come in on that. They're also represented in the meeting. So I think I'll hand over back to DG so that you can bring in the two water boards. Thank you.
Okay, Magalies, let's go first.
Yeah, let's allow the chair to lead. Dr. Sibeko.
Good morning to the chairperson. Good morning to the members of the portfolio committee, the ministers, deputy ministers. It's Matsidiso from Magalies Water. I will be leading the team from Magalies Water. The chairperson is also attending the conference, so she's not in the country. So I will try and respond to the question with regards to the engagements that we are currently having with the municipalities and the challenges that are reported by the municipalities in terms of the availability and the supply of water by Magalies Water, and being that it's worse than the former Sedibeng water. I must highlight, Chair, as highlighted by the DM, that we also had some institutional arrangement where we needed to engage with the municipalities and enter into service level agreement. And we also established the task teams. In some point, we were having weekly meetings to discuss the operational challenges, and all the issues as and when they are identified, they were attended to by the technical teams. And we are improving in terms of service delivery. And if I may also respond to the issue of the supply, the water supply in Taung area, the pipe from Taung to Vryburg, that part of the challenges that we were faced with as Magalies Water is the infrastructure in the area, where some of the infrastructure is dilapidated, and because it's the infrastructure of the municipality that required the municipality to replace the assets. So in that area, the municipality has started a project, and it's currently in the implementation phase where they are replacing the pipeline. Once that project is completed, so the water leaks will be addressed, and there will be improvement in the supply. But we are constantly monitoring on our side as part of the operations and maintenance that we are doing on behalf of the municipality. But Chair, there is the general manager projects and engineering responsible for the project, who will then explain in detail in terms of the projects that we are implementing in Northwest, and also just to touch on the Hammanskraal project and just highlight the other.
Let's do this. Let's just say on Taung, you'll deploy your team. And then on Hammanskraal, let your person just add if there's something DITMA left out, rather than to do a new report. Thank you.
I agree with that.
if there's something that your team want to add on what Dietmar says are the challenges, especially on Tshwane side, if there's anything through you, Chair, that they have left, let them indicate so.
It's fine.
Yes. Yes, no, thank you very much, Chair, and good morning to the members of the Portfolio Committee, the Minister, and also the Deputy Minister and the colleagues. Chair, I think on the Hammanskraal project, Dietmar has covered it very well. There's no need to make any additions. And on the side of the Vryburg, Chair, I must highlight over and above the challenges of the infrastructure in that area that is old. One of the major issues that we are experiencing, Chair, is that there are communities that are also vandalizing the valves, mainly due to the fact that they want their livestock to actually get water out of the water that is being transported on that pipeline. So that is one of the issues that really needs attention from all the parties that are involved in terms of engaging the community so that they can refrain from tampering with the infrastructure, because it affects the supply to the Vryburg town, as the honorable member has indicated. Other than that, the acting CEO has covered me in terms of the other inputs. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you.
We can take the chair for a daughter briefly, though there is a link, but maybe there is one or two key issues they need to indicate. The chair for a daughter, Datem.
Good morning to the, thanks DM, good morning to the chairperson and members and the DMs, the DG and the team and my colleagues from the respective boards. I would request the GCE to give us a more detailed report if it's required. However, the Board of Randota has approved the initial funding of the project. As indicated, the SPV activities ended on the 30th of June, and a number of agreements needed to be signed. We meet on a weekly basis to make sure that there's progress in that respect. Some of those agreements have been signed last week on Wednesday. People that were taken off site, we are part of the Section 63, have now been redeployed again. They had to be removed from site because there was no clarity at the time in terms of transition and who will be paying them. But they have now gone back on site as of this week, and we'll start seeing progress in relation to the implementation. The council has also approved the appointment of the third board member, because in terms of the MOI for the Vaal Central Water Utility to operate, it needed to have a third director, and the council had approved that. So we are, hoping that a number of agreements they will then be finalized, and then we start working. We are hopeful that by the 1st of December, or by December or January, the SPV will be fully operational. Some of the things that are still outstanding will be transfer of staff, and also the necessary service level agreements. The shareholders agreement has been signed, and we are moving forward. I would then request through you, Chair and DM, request the GCE to come in if there's something that he needs to highlight. Thank you.
You can continue.
Yeah, no, Chair. I think at this platform, the feedback by the Chair is sufficient. It's correct that all the fundamentals have been approved by various organizations. We are in the process and at the time of finalizing the agreements, and then we hope to be fully operational and have stabilized all the operations of the entity by December this year. I think the details are in the Vaal Water Utility Corporation, which is the SPV roadmap that we have attached and sent to the department. I'll not go into the details there too at this platform. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And may I just ask that the the attachment that was not added to the report from Randwater.
Although that Chairperson DG and Ditma will send you the link because even all these other projects, we said detailed annexures must be there so that you can oversight us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mkhanyakude, this is the responses you have received.
Chairperson, I appreciate the responses. I am now clarified, but I have a proposal, Chair, because with regard to this water pipeline from Taung to Vryburg, the response is the responsibility of the district municipality. Then we need to meet with them. That infrastructure is not old. I was a councillor, and those pipes, they were installed in 2014. Maybe they were of a very poor quality. But the other thing that I've noticed, Chairperson, as we traveled to Northern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, they are using bigger pipes, but come to Northwest. That is not the same. I'm not sure how can our province be assisted. Like the district has given Magalies an impression that the work is done. We've passed there last Friday and nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. And we were just looking at all those valves leaking, all of them surrounded by water. Thank you, Chairperson. Just fella to meet with Dr. RSM and Magalies to clarify some of these issues.
Through you, Chair DG will send a team who will do an assessment and what needs to be done, whether by us or Magalies or by the municipality, but we'll deploy a team to conduct a technical evaluation, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that response, Deputy Minister. Colleagues, is there any further hands on this report? It seems there's nothing. I then want to thank the department, the Minister in her absence. Oh, there is a hand. Why are you so late, Honorable Ditebe? You may continue, my friend.
Chair, sorry, I should have asked this question. When we visited the Northwest, the last municipality, Matlosana, at the instance of the province, I think is under section 139, 5A and C of the Constitution. I'd like to know whether all the similar interventions that follow the invocation of 139, 5A and C or even 7 have since followed in respect of that particular municipality. Because if you look at their green drop, non-revenue water, etc., they still require a great deal of assistance. But if perhaps the department could respond whether there is intent on the part of the department to invoke Section 6.3 in the aftermath of 139.5 AC. Thanks.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Deputy Minister?
Chairperson, we have not made that particular decision. We know that our teams are working with the provincial government there. And in the meantime, we'll look at continuously support without actually coming to an early determination, Honourable Ditebe. Let's just continue to support them. Even now, we're spending a lot of resources. You know, Chair, we've actually been dealing with Ditsobotla. We know how Ditsobotla is and all these others that are there. But we'll indicate in the next reporting cycle on all these interventions and support. But at this stage, we have not made a decision on Section 63.
Thank you very much. Honourable Ditebe, that was the response.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Kindly, if the Deputy Minister and the department could apprise the portfolio committee as and when such an intervention is made, because our own determination, based on the feedback we received from the participants in the public hearings, is that that is urgently needed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Minister, I believe you will take note of that. May I then thank the department, the Minister and the two Deputy Ministers for their presence here today. It was a good discussion and a good insight on the interventions. Once again, thank you for being present today. And I now request that all the members just stay behind so that we can elect a chairperson or acting chairperson for the Limpopo public hearing for this coming weekend.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Walk on.
You can go, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
I adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson.
While people are still leaving, colleagues, can we quickly just get someone? Is there any proposals on a acting chairperson? I know, Honorable Moore, I'll come to you now. I know that Honorable Stanley Ramahila won't be there. I will not be there. I'm not sure Honorable Reddy will join later. Honorable Ditlanga said that he will also join later. So can we, Honorable Reddy, would you be joining from the Thursday or the Friday?
No, Chair, I'll be joining on the Friday or so, but I'd like to move Honorable Ditebe, if he's available, to chair for the weekend session.
All right, you've just jumped the gun now, but
Seconded.
you all jumped the
Because
gun.
my hand has been
Honorable
up.
Moore, your hand was up first. Can I first give you the opportunity?
Chair, there's no need for precedence. I think we all are supportive of Honourable Ditebe chairing the weekend.
So, Honourable Ditebe, are you available?
My twin.
Yeah, twin from separate mothers. Honourable Ditebe, are you available to chair the session this weekend?
Chairperson, I am available, and thanks for the confidence in me by members. Just to say, Chairperson, on a lighter note, if I had hypertension, I would have long been admitted due to the troublesome Honorable Reddy, but we can coexist without fighting each other.
Yeah. Colleagues, all right, then I think that is settled. Honorable Ditebe will be the acting chairperson for the leg of Limpopo. And I would like to wish you well on the Limpopo trip and that everybody comes back safely. With that said, is there anything else that we need to discuss quickly, Nosipo?
Yes, Chair. Before, on the Limpopo issue, I've just seen the list of those who are going to Limpopo, but I did not see the name of Ntate Ditebe. I'm not sure if he was booked separately, but I did not see him in the list of the hotel accommodation.
Yeah, I think that is administratively, they can sort it out. He indicated he's available. Anything else from you, Nosipo?
Nothing at the moment, Chairperson. Thank you.
I can't see talent on here. Talent is talent on? No, it doesn't seem so. Tomani, from your side?
Talent is on, Chairperson.
Is there anything from your side, talent? I don't see him anyway. Tomani, from your side?
Yeah. Good morning, Chairperson. No, there's nothing from my side. I think we are operational-wise ready to go.
Okay. I now see the TB, talent. Anything from your side that you would like to quickly add?
Good morning, Chairperson and members. No, nothing from my side.
Okay. Colleagues, with that then, let's adjourn this meeting. Have a wonderful weekend in Limpopo. Bye.
Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.